What's up, guys? Welcome back to day 2 of my series Zero to Payout. Today, I wanted to start off with a little bit of one-on-one, just talking to you guys. I did take a trade today. I accidentally took a trade on my funded, and I took a trade on my evaluation, but we'll get into those trades a little later. I just wanted to start off and lay down some of the rules that I am taking with me for this challenge, and just so you guys can know a little bit more about my strategy and what I look for in the markets. A lot of people have been asking me what it is exactly I trade, so I want to break it down a little bit more just so you guys have an idea of who I am and what I do as a trader, because I think that's really important when you're consuming someone's content, what it is they do and what they look for in the markets. So to start off, my name is James, obviously, if you didn't know that already. I am a now 20 years old. I just turned 23 days ago. 20-year-old aspiring day trader. I'm in college. I am a semi-professional soccer player. And I picked up trading pretty seriously a couple years ago, and I've been really locked in on it, I'd say the past 6 months to 9 months. The strategy I trade is called ICT Concepts. ICT has a bunch of different models. It has a bunch of different indicators, confluences, etc. I have learned a lot from multiple mentors, and I've kind of tweaked the different things I've learned to my own, as you should with your own trading. Everybody sees the markets in their own way, and they have different things that work uniquely for them. So the only way you'll get that is by taking influence from other people and testing things. And as you back test and get experience in the markets, you will get a grip and see what works for you. So the things I primarily look for is, first off, is a sweep of liquidity, whether that be a high time frame swing point, data highs, data lows, an imbalance. So a PD array, a massive gap on a higher time frame. Really depends, but some prominent area of liquidity. The next thing is, it's optional, but it does boost my win rate a lot, is an SMT. An SMT is when you have a divergence in indexes. So we have NQ and ES. That's what I trade. So imagine ES takes out a high and NQ doesn't. That means that we have a divergence in price. That's pretty much that. The next thing I look for is, once we have that sweep and once we have the SMT put into place, I like to have a inverse of a fair value gap, showing that price is changing its order flow. That means it's disrespecting price and we're changing the direction of price. Followed by that, we'll usually have a change in the state, which is a close below a series of upside or downside candles, and a pullback into either that change in the state or a gap that we've created on the way to that. So I know that's a lot of waffle, and I have to make videos specifically breaking that down. But for you guys that do know trading to an extent, or you were able to pick up on what I've just said, that is what I look for in my model. So you can go back. I wouldn't even say go back. I'm really perfecting this model now and starting to show it in my trades. So moving forward in all of my trade recaps, I will break down and highlight all the confluences I'm using in my strategy. A perfect example is my trade from yesterday. That was an A+ setup in my book, where I have all my confluences, and that's what I trade with. So the next thing, strategy aside, what are my problems? Problems. Okay, risk management. And I think that's, for any trader to become successful, they have to be able to manage their risk, because the truth with trading is that you will not always win. It is a game of probability, right? If you are leaving it up to luck, or you're not going into it with a plan, it is gambling. And unfortunately, you very well could just go in, buy a bunch of longs, and hope that it goes up, and there's a probability that that happens, just like anything else. However, the markets are very intricate, and there is a lot of models and systems in place, and it is not as easy as just buying something and hoping it goes up or selling something and hoping it goes down. There is internal systems and a bunch of different factors that move markets, so it is not as easy to predict. There's not that chance probability as, just going to the casino and putting $50 on the red. Anyways, risk management, super key. Obviously, I'm not perfect with it. I wouldn't be in the position that I'm still saying that I'm learning, but you're constantly learning. Essentially, risk management is being able to minimize the damage and extend the wins, right? That's ideal. That's what you need in order to become profitable and successful. And it's certainly something I struggled with for a long time. And as of lately, I've created a system where I'm willing to lose a certain amount per trade, and I have a minimum risk to reward. So I'm willing to lose a certain amount to make a certain amount, and there is no minimum. So I'm risking $100 to make 200, which would be a 1 to 2, for example. So I'm not targeting anything less than that, or it doesn't make the trade worth it. Next thing is, once I've hit initial profits, I am scaling my remaining contracts in order to keep them in profit. That way I'm not letting remaining contracts take money away from me. That would kind of take away from the point of winning a trade, or it certainly doesn't feel good to be up and have made money and then suddenly you're down, or you've barely made anything because that remaining contract went all the way to your stop loss. So trailing that stop. And that is definitely something I'm continuing to work on, but that I have noticed has brought me a lot of success. Even if I'm not always getting massive wins, I'm getting wins, and it's a matter of scaling those small losses, and it will become something big before you even know it. What is the next thing? Really, I'd say routine. So having that trading plan that you follow, I have a whiteboard right above my desk right here that I look at right before I take a trade, and it's kind of burned in my brain already, but I will not take a trade unless it ticks those things off. Next thing is, once I've taken that trade and I've done everything, I journal it immediately. I have a template in Notion, and I write down my feelings. I write down why exactly I entered. I reflect on something that I messed up, because you are not taking a loss unless you don't learn from it. Yes, you might have lost some money, but if you have a system in place, if you have risk management, it should be something you're comfortable with losing, and you understand what you did in that trade and what you can do better. And that's the amazing thing about trading, and I've said this so many times, that this is one of the greatest jobs you can have, because it forces you to be fully accountable for yourself, and you will grow the fastest and you will learn the most about yourself doing this job, because you cannot blame anybody else, anything else, for what happens in your trading other than yourself, because it is you deciding to press that buy or sell button. So journaling is super key, and outside of that, routine is super key. So you have a plan, you have a trading routine. So maybe you have something that you do before. I love to meditate before I trade. I go for a walk, get some sunlight. Getting yourself in the right state of mind is key. You need to be mentally prepared, and I've noticed, especially when I am not in the best state of mind, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, or I woke up late and wasn't able to do my morning activities, my trading tends to not be as good. So having that in place, and other than that, included in your rules is you limit yourself to how many trades you take. You have a max loss, you have a max win, or once you have a win, really there's no need to chase more. And having a life outside of trading, because if you make trading your life, you're going to obsess over it, you're going to overtrade, you are going to overcomplicate it, when trading is rather simple. It is a matter of sticking to your plan, doing what you need to do, studying, having a deep understanding of what it is you look for in the market, and staying strictly to that. Because a lot of people, as soon as they take a couple losses, they start questioning themselves. They start thinking, oh, maybe I need to change my model. When in reality, if you've seen a lot of people trading exactly what you do and they are having success, then it's probably not the model. It is probably you. So there is something underlying in your trading that you need to figure out. And that's why tools like journaling are one of the best things you have, and backtesting. Going back, looking at historical data, and understanding what the markets are and what they do and how it works. I think that's pretty much for my yap session. Oh yeah. Outside of that, like I said, having a life outside of trading, getting off the charts, being productive, having other things that you're pursuing in your life, because you cannot make your life solely about trading. Going to the gym, getting exercise, eating well, having a good diet. You are what you consume. So if you are consuming constant garbage, scrolling on social media, eating bullshit, that is going to reflect on not only your physical body, which reflects your confidence, but it's also going to reflect your mental. And what you put in your body, it affects the way your brain functions, your body functions, and this all turns back to you in your trading, which is what you are trying to improve here, right? So yes, you have to have a life, you have to have a routine. Other thing is, like, respectfully to all the people that smoke and drink, you got to cut that shit out, bro. If you truly want to level up right now and you want to change your life, there is no room for that. If you're smoking, if you're drinking, that is coming from a place of comfort. You are escaping whatever it is you're going through on your day-to-day life, and you're trying to take it easy. You're trying to find an easy way out, when in reality, you have to face your fears. You have to face the things that are most difficult, that are most uncomfortable, to have that breakthrough, to get to the next level. And I'm doing that right now. I'm sitting in front of this camera. I'm learning how to speak to you guys, and I'm just figuring out whatever's going on in my mind, and I'm getting it out. It may not be perfect, but I'm here and I'm doing it. And I will constantly be reflecting, be constantly open to being better. And I know for a fact that drinking and smoking is not going to help me with that, because it's going to take me away from the state of mind that is progressive right now. To each their own, but I would say from personal experience, it changed my life tremendously, along with seeing other people around me cut that out, how much of an impact it can have on you. So take your physical, mental, and spiritual health very, very seriously. It's pretty much my yap session done. I just wanted to break down kind of what my mindset and how I operate regarding my trading. I think it's super important to know when you are getting into someone's trading, and I think the biggest thing with my channel is I want to make it personal. I want it to be realistic, because a lot of these mentors and YouTubers out there, they try to put this professional look where they just want to put all of, the success and the trading stuff, when in reality, trading is so much more than what you do on the charts. That's obviously what it is in the end. That's how you're making your money. But the way you operate, the way you go about the whole system of trading is super important. And I am here to help you guys understand how you can improve that. Whatever comes to my mind in the future, I'm going to be making more videos. I'm going to be putting it in the future stuff. But I think day 2 of this challenge, you got to know who I am. And I'm going to show you guys what trade I took today. So coming into the day, we had a massive dump immediately off of open within the first 10 minutes or so. So with that in mind, having that our pre-existing areas of liquidity that we were targeting been taken out, there wasn't much where price wanted to go. And usually once we have prominent areas of liquidity, we either show an immediate reaction off of that being swept, or we'll chop around. And with it being a Tuesday, no news, and FOMC tomorrow, Usually, especially with FOMC, the market will be kind of chopping the day before because it's a high impact news. So buyers and sellers will be kind of stagnant and price will be undecided. As you can see on this chart, it's a whole lot of chopping around in a range. Based off of that, and based off of that buys coming to the day, there was still opportunity for trades. However, I wanted to stick to high probability conditions for my funded account just to stay extra safe. I am on an eval account as well, with hopes to have multiple funded accounts going. So I did take 2 trades on my eval account. So without further ado, I will show you those trades. So off of the rip, we had our first setup in which we had a 1 minute change in the state, an inverse of this 1 minute gap after we swept this internal low. This wasn't the highest probability setup just because we were chopping so much and there wasn't an SMT in place. Like I've said, SMTs are optional, but as of lately, I feel that they really help me have a higher win rate when they're in place. So anyways, I did have technically like all my confluences in place to take this trade, which is why I took it, because I'm confident in my model. And when I lose, I am losing amount that I am confident in losing, so I am not stressing when I lose a trade. Okay, so like I said, we had the change in the state, inverse. We created a gap after that inverse, and we pulled back into it, which was also the change in the state. I entered long, targeting the internal high. However, I was stopped out almost immediately. And that was that. I journaled it and moved on. I came back to the charts a little bit later, and after watching price put in this SMT and Q making a higher high, and ES putting in a lower low, as you can see. Sorry, let me move it over real quick. ES making a lower low and ES making a higher high. That means there is a divergence in price, and usually when you have such a prominent SMT in place, it means that the market maker models want to step in and move price to another opposing pool of liquidity, as we've swept this one on one of them. So anyways, after that SMT was put into place, we then had an inverse of this internal 1 minute, patiently waiting. I then saw we had a change in the state of delivery up here, closing above this series of downside candles. This was also a 5 minute break of structure, so that was just another confluence that you could throw in there. After that, it wasn't enough for me to take, because I've noticed that even if price gives me all of this, I could enter off of the change in the state. However, I need to see a close, so entering up here wouldn't be a great risk to reward. And from my back testing, I've noticed that price likes to come into a gap on the way up or pull back into the change of the state before it wants to go higher. So I exactly waited for that, pull back into the change of the state and the gap, targeting the internal high, and price played out beautifully. Made about $1,000 on this move, lost about $250 on this one, making about $750 on the day. When I was actually entering this trade over here, I accidentally entered on my funded account, not noticing, so I immediately exited out. But because it was like minis and they move super quick, I made $30. So I'm not gonna complain, but I'm not saying like I made that or anything like myself. That's just money for commissions. So with that in mind, we're up $30 on the funded account today, bringing it to $330, and we are up $750 on the new evaluation. I'm hoping to pass this evaluation so I can have 2 funded accounts going, which will make my road to my first payout a lot faster, because then I won't feel the need to stack the funded account as much to get that initial payout. I can just split it on 2 accounts and take it faster. So yeah, you guys got to know a little bit about me today, what I look for in the markets, kind of how I structure my routine and my day-to-day, and any ideas that I come up, please be sure to let me know anything that you want to see from me. And as always, I really appreciate you guys tuning in if you've made it this far for this yap sesh. But I will be making some more videos as well that show on chart detail of my strategy, because I know I kind of just said it in words before. So yeah, keep a lookout for those. Follow my socials in the description. And as always, guys, stay safe. See you tomorrow. Peace.